Ohio State showed up and showed out during Dakorien Moore's official visit.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, Buckeye fans, to a Monday edition of Locked On Buckeyes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Here on Monday, June 3rd in the year 2024. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, also the host of the Jay Stevens Podcast. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 with any winning $5 bet. Simply visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. One thing about this time of year that is at utmost importance for the Buckeyes is to make sure you capitalize on having recruits on campus on official visits in the summer. This is a great time and the ideal time for Ohio State to build their 2025 recruiting class. And when you have 10 guys on campus on official visits at one time, you have to capitalize not just on one, not just on two, but on all 10. Now, the reality is you're not going to get a commitment from all 10, or you probably will not. That would not be realistic to think that. But no matter what, you have to do what you need to do to make a big impression on the recruits that are on campus. That's exactly what the coaches, Brian Hartline, Ryan Day, Chip Kelly, and others did when Dakorien Moore and his family were on campus over the weekend. And when you get a guy like Dakorien Moore, who is the number one receiver in the recruiting class, number three player in the country via 247 Sports composite rankings, the best player in the state of Texas via 247 Sports composite rankings as well. You must capitalize. That's exactly what the Buckeyes did, what Ryan Day did, what Brian Hartline did, and others. They did what was needed to make a massive impression on this young man, and a guy that would do what? He would instantly boost your recruiting class. Because as it stands right now, and I've checked this numerous times to make sure I have the accurate information, the Buckeyes only have one wide receiver that is committed in this current recruiting cycle. That is Desi Jones out of Jersey. He committed back at the end of March. That's it. Javen Boggs was committed, decommitted, and they have not had any other receivers commit since that period of time. Only one. Now, it's not just the fact you need to impress him because you want to get another elite receiver on your recruiting class, but number two, this just continues a trend that Brian Hartline already has of, hey, this is what we do. We attract elite receivers. We get them on campus. They commit to Ohio State. They sign on the dotted line. And then what's next? Buddy, it's just, hey, come in here. Let us help you develop. Let us do our thing. And let's see what happens after that. Now, when you're on campus and the family is there, it's not just impressing the athlete. It's also impressing their parent, their family, whoever is there with them on that weekend. That's exactly what happened. This is a report from 247 Sports' Mike Roach on something Dakorien Moore's mom, Marjan Moore, said following the official visit at Ohio State. Quote, "It was an excellent visit. My family and I all agree. They will be very tough to beat in my eyes because they are just on another level in every way," end quote. Now, if you get mama on board, it's not a done deal, but you got a realistic opportunity to get a commitment from that young man. Because if you can't get mama on board, if you can't get a family member on board or someone in that circle, that maybe it's not mom, but maybe it is someone in that circle, okay, you're doing something. But mom's word means a lot. Mom's word means a whole lot. And there's numerous guys. I think it was Draymond Green said his mom actually picked the place that he played basketball in college, Michigan State. Now, there was another story that goes into that too, but there were things that his mom was very implemental in why he became a Michigan State Spartan. Think about the athletes people or maybe you yourself. Think about the things that, hey, mama, once she's on board with something, hey, things are looking really, really good, either to make that thing happen, or maybe mom's on board with you not making a decision that you wanted to make, And now you got to figure out, how can I get mom on board? It's going to take a lot of work. Going to be very intense. Now, my dad is full of jokes, and my dad's actually the pastor that officiated my wedding with my wife almost about a year ago now. It's crazy how time has flown. But my dad, at the very end, before I kissed my bride, my dad said, by the power invested in me by the state of Indiana and Jay's mom, and everybody laughed, but everybody knows, once you get somebody's mama on board, especially if you're dating a young lady or you're dating someone, and if mom says, "Ooh, I appreciate, I like it, I'm going board with that, let's move forward with it," or if you're dating somebody and mama's like, "Oh, whoa, let's pump the brakes, let's stop a little bit, come on over, let's talk about this one," everybody knows that what mom says goes, and it means a whole lot. So for Dakorien Moore's mom to make this statement about, it was an excellent visit with my family and they all agree. Then she goes on to say, they will be very tough to beat in my eyes, individually, my eyes, because they are just on another level in every way, not one way, not two way, but every way. Dakorien Moore was already high on Ohio State's board as they should be. He is an elite receiver. The crystal ball I'm looking at currently is Moore's crystal ball to Texas, as he is a Duncanville kid down there in Texas. So it makes sense for that to be a thought. But that doesn't mean that's going to happen. Now, we all also know reality. Dakorien Moore committing to Ohio State is just the first part. You have to continue to recruit him, continue to make him a priority, continue to make sure that he realizes and he understands, hey, this is the right place for you to play football. I mean, it's not just a track record of previously. What can you do for me in the future? Yeah, you got Chris Olave, you got Njigba, you got Harrison Jr., you got Garrett Wilson. Yeah, you got Terry McLaurin. Yeah, you got X, Y, or Z receiver from the past. You got Ibuka right now. Forget that. What will you do for me in the future? And you know what? If they're going to be on a different level in every way, and they got mom on board, and mom is making this bold statement after the OV is complete. Look, I'm not saying it's a done deal, but it wouldn't shock me if Dakorien Moore eventually committed to Ohio State. And this visit this past weekend being a big reason why that is the case. I am just going to be very excited, looking forward to a lot of good things coming after this official visit weekend. Because if this was the way you treated Dakorien Moore, think about how Ohio State will treat other elite prospects that they're trying to lure to Columbus. Speaking of players that Ohio State is trying to lure to Columbus, they're trying to get Bo Jackson to stay in state to play football at Ohio State, and they impressed him during his visit as well. This episode is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just a job board. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job, but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you are not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnCollege. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnCollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. This episode is also brought to you by Billiards Plus. Billiards Plus has the best selection of pool tables, game tables, shuffleboard tables, and more. And the best service in Central Ohio. And guys, check this out. Billiards Plus carries grills that have up to 30-year warranties. That's right, a grill with a 30-year warranty. Everything you need for in-home and backyard entertainment is at Billiards Plus. And their grills, whether you like charcoal or gas or even wood-fired, Billiards Plus has a perfect setup for all grillers. They are family owned and operated. And when you talk to the staff at Billiards Plus, you know you're talking to an expert who will not steer you wrong. No matter the season, Billiards Plus has you covered for all your indoor and outdoor entertainment needs. Kenny, Sarah, and the whole staff will always go above and beyond to give you the best customer service in the industry. Billiards Plus. Visit their showroom on Dublin Center Drive in Dublin. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Have to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel program for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, and news streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Official visit season is fun, man. It's always enjoyable to see what players are doing, where they're leaning, and exactly what Ohio State might be able to do to lure elite recruits to Ohio State. Not only did Ohio State impress Dakorien Moore, his mom, and the rest of his entourage and family that were there with him over the weekend. Say entourage, it was his family. Like, it could have been other people, family, friends, girlfriend, I don't know. But his family was there with him. But the Buckeyes also really, really put a big impression on in-state running back product, Bo Jackson. Not of the same relation as Bo Jackson. This Bo Jackson is an in-state kid whose real name is Lamar, not Bo. But Brian and I talked about Brian Smith, that is Locked On's recruiting analyst, talked about him last week and the importance of bringing him in and keeping him in. He's a Cleveland product out of Villa Angela, St. Joseph's, and he is currently still has official visits scheduled with Alabama and Georgia. And so he is a kid that's on Georgia's radar, on Alabama's radar, and he's in Cleveland. So Ohio State had all that in mind and said, hey, look, we ain't got to worry about the others. Worry about us. We present ourselves. We do what we got to do. They did a great job of impressing Bo Jackson on his visit so much. They impressed him in such a big way that there's been a crystal ball prediction for Bo Jackson to commit to Ohio State. This is a crystal ball via 247 Sports, and that was put in earlier on Sunday evening. And so it wasn't something that was like, oh, this was before. This was post-visit, and that was put in by, it was On3, excuse me. On3 put that in via Steve Wiltfong, who used to be at 247 Sports, which kind of got my thoughts back and forth. But this is big. This is big. One thing I love about Bo Jackson, and I said it on Friday's show, the Everydayers called it the getaway speed that Bo Jackson has. And it's one of those things where you're 6 foot plus, 205. You're not worried about, like, you already have good size, but the size you have also possessed with the speed you have and the vision, the quickness to get to the second level and to do all the things that I do believe that Carlos Loughlin wants his running backs to do. This is, I won't say a game changer, but this is what you want. You want a guy who's a priority running back, especially during the first weekend of official visits. You want him to come on campus and do what? Be impressed. You want him to make sure that Ohio State's coaches, that Ohio State's the athletes that he is being shadowed with. My words are not working very well right now. And also the fact that Ohio State has 0 running backs currently committed to their 2025 recruiting class. All of those factors go into why you have to knock this out of the park. And the fact that they did it is one thing. But Bo Jackson made this, and I saw this before the the crystal ball prediction was put in. This is Bo Jackson after his visit. Quote, Ohio State is definitely at the top after this visit. I liked it a lot, end quote. Now, if I am Georgia, if I am Alabama, should I be worried that he's making that statement after an Ohio State official visit? No, you shouldn't be. Why? Because you're going to get the next crack at it. You're going to be able to put your own mark, and you're going to be able to impress him in your own way. And so, one, Ohio State should be happy, pleased. But number two, if I am Georgia, Kirby Smart. If I'm Alabama, Kalen DeBoer. Look, they believe their brand is bigger than Ohio State's. I don't. They believe that they are the right school for Bo Jackson. Once again, I don't. They believe that they'll be able to do what is needed to lure Bo Jackson away from Ohio to play football down south. That I can't say yes or no to. I don't have an opinion one way or another. I do know this, though. Ohio State, if you're going to get your top priority in receiver to make that bold statement, his mom to make that statement after the visit, you're doing something right. If you're going to get your top in-state prospect, maybe at running back, to make that big statement and say, hey, Ohio State is definitely at the top after this visit, that's huge, because these are just 2 of the 10 guys that visited Ohio State over the weekend. There are 8 other players, one more we're going to talk about during today's show, that also were impressed while they were at Ohio State. And might I add this really quickly? Whoever went into the design of the backdrops on the official visits for the photo sessions and pictures with coaches and families, hey, that's all I got for you. It's a quick clap. I would give a standing O, but I don't have a standing desk, and for me sitting down or standing up would take a little bit of time to move that back up and down if I did. However, look, y'all knocked it out of the park. Seeing the backdrop and the setup before the official visits were started, I was like, okay, I get it. And then all of a sudden, seeing the pictures afterwards, the couch, the newspaper clippings, look, y'all killed it. Y'all absolutely did. Ohio State's the behind the scenes and the photography and the videography and that whole department, the art department, whatever you want to call it, they kill it every day of the week and twice on Sundays. It's just what they do. And if I'm a recruit, I want to come in, not just be wined and dined, but also show me something different. And they definitely show something different there. But if Bo Jackson is eventually going to commit to Ohio State could look back at this moment and say, we did what we had to do. We impressed him. We talked the right talk. We didn't have to sugarcoat anything or lie about anything. Yes, we had to answer some questions, but this is all about us. We're going to hear in a second about what Brian Hartline did when they recruit another receiver that was at Ohio State during their one-on-one conversation that really impressed that athlete when they had the chance to talk to and sit down with Brian Hartline during their visit. But from Hartline to Lachlan to Day to Kelly, kudos. But this is not the end. This is only the beginning of this current cycle. This isn't the end with these recruits. You did enough by building the relationships to get them on campus for the OV. But keep on going. Keep on pushing. Keep on doing exactly what you've been doing. Because if that's the mindset to continue what has already been started and maybe go a little bit further and a little bit further, then yeah, you'll have a more realistic opportunity to get Dakorien Moore on campus and commit to Ohio State and sign that NLI, or you can do the same thing. Bo Jackson, you got him on campus, you get a verbal, you get him to sign that national letter of intent. You can look back to this moment to say, hey, we did what we had to do. We changed up a few things, and it worked. Speaking of Brian Hartline, I mentioned him a few minutes ago. Brian Hartline did an amazing job of impressing a 4-star wide receiver on his visit over the weekend. We'll dive into what Hartline did next. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. It's winner take all in the NBA and NHL, and FanDuel is giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and more. If you're trying to put some money on the NBA Finals or the NHL playoffs, go ahead and go right to FanDuel Sportsbook and make that thing happen. If you want to put some money on Ohio State future bets in college football games in the fall, or maybe their chances to win the Natty, go to FanDuel Sportsbook. You can do that there as well. Simply visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make every playoff shot count. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Thank you for making Locked On Buckeyes your first listen every day. One thing we introduced a couple weeks ago, reintroduced it. It is the Locked On Buckeyes subtext. This is a way for you and I, as host and listener or viewer, to communicate throughout the week. I'll be sending out different news and Ohio State updates, recruiting news that everyone wants to have. You can get it right there via subtext first before it hits the show. What can you do? Well, there's a link in the show notes. How can you sign up? Excuse me. There's a link in the show notes for you to sign up that way. Or you can also send a text to 614-587-7853. Once you sign up, there's a 14-day free trial. After that, it is $4.99 a month to just continue this chain going. But also, we'll occasionally do Q&A sessions. Those questions will come from our subtexters. So this is an exclusive group. Locked On Buckeyes here every day, as y'all know about it. This is an exclusive group. But now this is a more fun way and a deeper way for you to join and enjoy the Locked On Buckeyes community. Join the subtext. Once again, you can join via the link in the show notes on any platform right now, or by sending a text to 614-587-7853. Ryan Day, Brian Hartline, Carlos Lachlan, Chip Kelly, they all know the importance of this time period throughout the summer. Unfortunately, it keeps them busy, where June used to not be as busy of a month as it currently is, or you maybe have a little bit more time with your family and friends. No, not right now. You got to wait a little bit for that time period to happen, and then all of a sudden, it's right back to the grind. Well, Ohio State, I believe, hosted 10 players on official visits over the weekend. And you'll occasionally hear me or Brian say OV. It's not saying OV as an over, as I used to say all the time playing Madden in college football. But no, it's just right now in context, it's the official visit. Just OV is a little bit quicker way to make that statement. Another receiver that was at Ohio State was Daylan McCutcheon. I don't believe Brian and I have talked about him on the show recently. He's a 5'11", 175-pound wide receiver from Lucas, Texas, down there in Lovejoy High School. He is one of those guys that's got offers from all of the top schools: Florida State, Ohio State, SMU, Texas, USC, just to name a few of the schools that are high on his list. Taking official visits to Ohio State, has him scheduled for USC this upcoming weekend. And then also you got him going to Texas, him going to Florida State. So this is not a recruitment where Ohio State is just going to be able to lay down and not do everything they need to get this young man on campus. He is currently, want to get this out here quickly, he is currently a top 100 recruit, currently via 247 Sports composite rankings, the 12th best receiver in the 2025 recruiting class, which is very important. Ohio State, remember, only has one receiver in this recruiting cycle right now, and they want to be able to add more elite guys. And McCutcheon was very, very high. He really enjoyed his visit to Ohio State, but he said, and he had this to say about his visit, quote, "My visit overall was good. Being able to hang out with Coach Day, Coach Hartline, and being able to talk to Coach Kelly and hang out with the players was great. The overall experience and what they had to say, being able to be coached up and being around the players and hearing what they like about Ohio State was great." Now, one of the interesting things about his visit was he was hosted by Bryson Rogers. Now, you may remember the name Bryson Rogers mainly on your mind this offseason is because he entered the portal and then came back to Ohio State after realizing Ohio State was the right spot for him. And I think this is a very interesting thing that Heartland would team him up with Bryson Rogers, because McCutcheon has offers from everywhere. Also, Rogers and McCutcheon will play the same position as slot receiver, as McCutcheon realized and learned, or was confirmed to him, that he will be a slot receiver at Ohio State. So Heartline did not just, one, pair him up with the right guy, but he also had a sit-down with McCutcheon, a one-on-one conversation that was very productive. And here's what McCutcheon had to say about that conversation with Brian Hartline, quote, "It was good overall. He was going over my film and telling me things I need to work on, especially film that's not mainly on my highlight tape. Overall, the talk was good with him. I know I'd mainly start as a slot receiver at Ohio State," end quote. But the fact, and I always love hearing about what players have to say after they go over film with Ohio State coaches or any coach around the country, just the impact of, hey, well, he told me what I need to work on, and it was stuff that wasn't on my highlight film. Because, yeah, the stuff on your highlight film was one thing, and highlight films aren't perfect. Trust me, we could all go through them and dissect them and say, well, this was wrong, that was wrong. Got the tackle, but the angle could have been better. You miss a step, but you were still able to beat that guy on that pull block. There were a lot of things that aren't correct. However, one, Hartline saying this and being able to understand, hey, we got him here. We want him. We're not going to invest this time with someone if we don't want them at Ohio State, or if we don't want them to wear the scarlet and gray. This is also something I heard from, I believe it was Diebler, when he was not Hartline, Holtman's associate head coach. This was a couple of years ago. A recruit was talking about how Diebler would contact the recruit after games and would contact him and say, hey, here's what you need to work on from the previous game. But it was after, in lines with the NCAA rules. I'm not trying to sit up here and sound like I know them to a T, because there's so many on the recruiting side of things. But Diebler was saying, hey, here's in this game, here are some things you could work on. Here are some things that were good. Here are some things that were good but could be better. And it was breaking down the film that way. And I think that speaks a lot to recruits, maybe more than what we think. Because if I'm not on your team, you don't have to break down my film. If you want me on your team, cool. Look at my film. But if you want me on my team, you want to invest in a deeper way, how about you tell me how I can currently get better when I'm not even on your team yet? That speaks volumes about the coaches, Hartline, Diebler, and others. And it sounds like the Buckeyes made a big impression on McCutchen. Now, I'm not saying he's going to commit to Ohio State or not. I mean, I have a better feeling about I have a better feeling about Dakorien Moore and Bo Jackson than McCutchen right now. That doesn't mean McCutchen will not commit to Ohio State in the future. Just like something that might happen in the future, but based on things that happened in the past, Ohio State has started something in the past that will help you be a better sports fan in the future. Locked On has launched Ohio State. Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, and now it's also available on Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On Plus, our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV channels app. You can follow me on X at jstevens07. Send all of your emails to jstevens317 at gmail.com. Right here on a Monday, Buckeye fans. We will see you next time.